Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much again for tuning in with us to Word of Faith Responds. And we are sharing with you about what God has done in our lives at the Word of Faith Fellowship. And today I have a good friend of mine, Stephen. He came to the Word of Faith Fellowship in 2000, and he actually came from Ecuador. And he had quite a life in Ecuador. You're going to be shocked as you listen to this amazing story of how God completely pulled him out of an absolute mess in his life, a life where he did not know anything about God, and it was a wild life, a life of violence. There was crime, there was a lot of women involved constantly in his life, and so you're going to hear an absolute miracle as he shares with you, and I want to just jump right into that. He needs the full time here, so let's listen closely as Stephen shares what God has done in his life. Stephen?
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, everybody, and thank you, Jim, for having us here. And like Mark said, I grew up in Ecuador, in the big city of Quito, the capital of Ecuador, and my parents they have 6 children, so I am the second youngest, and my parents they didn't know nothing about God, so our family was a dysfunction family. Uh, my parents they have all the time strife in at home. My dad was a well-known banker, and he had a big responsibility and job, and he was well known in his bank, so a lot of people knew him, and he was Mr. Ecuador. And he about that too, a lot of people knew him because of his background in sports.
Are you talking about the
Bodybuilding,
Mr.
yeah,
Ecuador's and his
exactly. Is
weightlifting and bodybuilding?
yeah, is a version of Miss uh, United States, version of men. You show how big you are, and you win. So, anyways, like I said, my dad and mom, they have a lot of strife between them, and we grew up in that environment. My dad had a large family as well, and all the time drinking, and many things that went wrong there. So I grew up in that environment, and like I said, my dad was the instrumental for me to start bodybuilding. I started lifting weight when I was 8 years old, and but at the age of 15, I was full time doing this bodybuilding, building my body. And in that point, I was a very depressed child because of the situation at home, and I really I love my parents, but I didn't want to be around them, because my dad used to tell me about my mom, and mom used to tell me about my dad, and I hate that. And of course, going to school, I was start being violent as well. I feel I was a very abused child because of the environment at home, but I show in school that I was violent with my classmates, and when I started bodybuilding, I said I'm going to be bigger than my dad. I'm going to be better, and everybody's going to respect me, and because I had an emptiness of love. I feel rejected by my parents. I decided I will build up myself. So everybody will love me. The girls will love me, and the boys will respect me, and they will like be around me as a protection or whatever. So in that point, I was doing that. I was full time bodybuilding, and I become big. And in that point in high school, my classmates they were afraid of me, and the other school students they were afraid of me when we have ball games and stuff like that. So anyway, in that point, I was full of pride. I was, I was reaching what I was looking for. But in that point, I could not take anymore my situation at home. So I applied for a grant to go to school in Brazil, and actually I was granted to a university. I went for engineer school. Mm-hmm. So I was in Brazil for 3 years, still, lifting weights, involving with girls, and that kind of lifestyle. I was very intimidating people all the time and fighting and that kind of stuff, lifestyle. And I was in Brazil for 3 years. The last year and a half I was there, I got married, and I was dating this girl from Ecuador, and we got married. And that situation slowed me down. I was going to school, I was going home, and I was pretty slowed down in my doings. So the time came when we came back to Ecuador. I came back to Ecuador, and so I thought, well, I think the best way for me to do is, I open a fitness center, because I knew about it, I was good about it, and I learned many things in Brazil as well. And sure enough, and I'm in my mind, I said I will be the best also here. I will be the best fitness center in town. And sure enough, I built up this body center. I was in a penthouse in a building, and my name went up immediately because we have even the best equipment that you can find in the time. The floors, they were marble and a special carpet with rubber protection and all kind of stuff. So it was in the penthouse. You can see the city. That's a 360 degrees view. So a lot of members came. A lot of people came. We have thousands of members, and in that point, I invited my two brothers to become my partners in the business because it was growing so fast and we were making a lot of money. And in that point, I just back up a little bit. When I make a decision to get married, I knew my dad was running with girls all the time because his position as a banker. He had a lot involved with women, and I said to myself, I will never do that to my wife. I will never betray my wife the way my dad did to my mom. But I started in the bodybuilding and the gym and all the stuff, and sure enough, I had plenty of opportunities to do that, and I did. I failed the test. All my thinking, I just push away. I just was getting involved with women all the time, with girls, with different ages of ladies, even married women, and I didn't care. At this point, I was so full of wounds, and I didn't care the emotions of people. I didn't care anything, and I was being violent with people. I was intimidating, fighting, and hitting pretty bad people, hurt people pretty bad. And anyway, in this point, I had a friend of mine that he was a bodybuilder. We become very close friends, and this young man told me that his brother was a pastor, and he was coming from New York. So I said, well, good. I mean, I didn't have a clue what a pastor was. I thought it was a guy who had a big tunics and a big cross here, and that was the image that I have about him. So anyway, time went on, and I got involved with this young man's sister, and he didn't like that, but I didn't care either.
Were you still married at that time?
Yeah, and that time I still married, running with all these girls. In that point, my wife was find out all my doings, and she kicked me out of the house, and I don't blame her, because I mean I was so bad to her, and she got news from all these people, all what my doings, and even friends of her, and anyways, in this point, I was running with different relationships that, I mean, I was literally become a crazy person. I was so anger, so much anger in me. I was always all the time finding somebody who I want to fight with. So anyways, at this point, I was also looking for I met this lady that was a doctor, a medical doctor, and she practiced this bioenergy medicine. That was a new thing to me, but I thought, well, she can help me, because I wanted to be bigger, I want to be stronger. So I was seeing her very often, pretty much every week, and she was giving me this overdose of vitamins, overdose of heavy metals. Even she gave me. I remember the other night. She gave me a 7 serpent poison. But I believe her. I believe everything what she was saying to me. I just want to, reach that point to be bigger and stronger and have a lot of energy. And I was, lifting weights pretty much every day for hours, and I was of course, a personal trainer, and I keep doing my things with these ladies at the gym, and this doctor lady, she told me one day, I said, you have some bad spirits on you, so you need to be clean out of that. So I said, well, okay. So like I said, I believe her everything that she said. So she sent me to it's called in Ecuador. It's called shaman. Is a Ecuadorian Indian. He was the witchcraft doctor. So he started doing these things to me every often, and I become very close friend with him. Because
this is the witch doctor.
Witch doctor. So he told me one day, I will give you this because you're my friend. He gave me a seed. And he said, this is a lucky thing. I will protect you for anything. And then so you keep in yourself all the time. So I was keeping this seed with me, as a protection type of thing.
You're talking about like a plant
yeah,
seed?
As a seed. Okay. Sorry, as a seed of, I don't know what kind of seed it was, but he gave me that. He said that it was perfect for me, so I was using that. Anyway, so I remember I was doing kayak one day in Ecuador. Quito is very high elevation. It's very high in the mountains, and the rivers there are very fast. They go down the hill very fast, and this really specific river was full of water because it was a lot of rain. So I jumped in the river, and this kayak sure enough, I fell off of the kayak, and I thought that that was it. I'm going to die this time because I was in fights and knives and guns and everything. I was able to come out of that. So, but this time I said, I'm going to die this time. So I reached to see if I had my seed with me, and I noticed that it was gone in the water. So at that point I said, God help me. So sure enough, I hit that rock, a huge rock, and I jumped in the air, and I was able to grab a whole branch that was sticking out of the shore of the river, and I was able to come out. So I said, well, I forgot about God. I just say, well, one more time, I'm lucky, good for me. So I was doing this all the time. I was, again, fightings and stuff like that.
Who would you be getting in fights with?
Yeah, what happened was I came out with this big idea because I get reports of my customers at the gym that they have been broke into, the cars broke into, and stealing the radios and the wheels and all kind of stuff. So I said, well, you know what? Let me get some guys here, and we will get these thieves. Every night we were in the watch, and sure enough, every other day, pretty much, we went after thieves, and we were let them have it pretty badly. We didn't have any compassion anyway. But at this point, I was so involved with that too. I really liked to do that because I thought I was doing a good thing. I was catching these thieves, these criminals, and I'm doing my own justice. I thought it was a great thing. So anyway, one night I was sure enough, somebody came and said, hey, I saw 2 thieves there in a motorcycle. So I ran. I took a baseball bat with me. I ran there, Sure enough, I was running behind them. They were driving a big motorcycle, a dirt bike. I used to have bicycles, so I knew what kind of motorcycle it was. So I ran and I was going to hit them pretty badly with the bat, but they were able to turn around and they fell, both of them in the motorcycle. They fell, they ran away. So I took the motorcycle with me. So that kind of stuff I was doing. Crazy. It got worse and worse and worse with the time. Was involved. I already have a gun with me and was shooting. Somebody got hurt. One of these criminals got shoot one time, and and we were the good guys because we have business and these criminals they were putting in jail. But anyways, in this point, I remember so clear. This is a key here because I have so much people in the gym coming to the gym, and in two occasions somebody came to me and said, you need Jesus in your life, and then you need to become Christian. And I look in the two different circumstances. I looked to them and said, you are talking about me become like you. You are like me. I don't want to be Christian like you because you are doing the same thing that I'm doing. Running with girls, smoking, drinking, and all these things. At least I'm not saying I'm Christian. So I push away those two instances with those two people that came to me and talked to me about Jesus. But anyways, at this point I was spending so much money with all my doings, my girls, my trips, and all this stuff. And at this point I was my bills, they were crazy high. So I decided to sell some of my shares with my brothers. So
shares of your business.
Shares of my business. I was able to pay the bills. So I have a bad relationship with my brothers anyway. And we fight each other and because of the business itself. So I was doing other things to get money, and I remember one night, a specific night, I was riding a bicycle, and it was night. I think it was Sunday. I remember because it was, the Quito's big city, was no traffic. I was coming back home, and I was so angry that night, Mark. I was about to explode. So much anger in me. But let me back up a little bit. A key point here too is I was running with this girl that, remember, the older brother was a pastor. So when I met him, I knew, the image that I have of a pastor was totally different. He was a nice man, and he never told me about God, anything. And one day I went to visit this girl in her house, and she warned me, as some people here with my older brother visiting my parents, and there's some American people there. So I went to the house and I saw these American people, and I say hello to them, and I went on doing my own things. So anyway, and this later on I found out they were people from Word of Faith. Those were members of Word of Faith because the pastor, this man pastor, was affiliated with the Word of Faith. So he had contact with Word of Faith here in Spindle. So anyways, I was coming back to the other point that when I was doing my...
When you were talking about when you were coming home one night.
Yeah, coming home one night, I was with my bicycle. Yes, I was so about to explode. So I saw this man coming walking, and I said, well, I'm going to lean towards him so he can bop me and then get in a fight with him. Sure enough, I did that, but I didn't know that he was with another person. That this person had a stick, a pretty thick stick. So we got involved. In my mind, I said, I will take away the stick and I will let them have both of them. In that point, a car stopped, and there were a couple boys that used to come to the gym, and they stopped me, and they said, stop, don't do that. So they took me home. I remember so clear, Jim. I went home that night. I was so sick inside of me, and I just fell in my floor in my condominium. I was living by myself, so I fell on the floor and I started yelling and crying out to God, literally with all in me, with inside I was, God, you got to help me. Somebody is going to kill me one day, or I'm going to kill somebody. I don't want to live this way anymore. So the first thought came to my mind was, go and see that man, that pastor from New York. I met him a year before. So sure enough, I knew where he was living, so I went there and see him, and he had a message for me, because my heart was ready to hear from God, because I didn't know nothing about God, nothing about Christianity, nothing about Jesus. That next day, God himself came to me, and this pastor, God used him to help me, to teach me about the Bible. I was meeting with him pretty much every day. So in this process of this, and I was seeing my life. I mean, my life was a mess because I didn't have Jesus, and I really want to fill up this emptiness in my heart with something. All the things that I did and didn't work. I always said I hate the things that my dad did, but I become worse than him because I could not stop, because I realized, because I didn't have Jesus. If Jesus was in my heart, I could stop that. But I could say with my mouth, I don't want to say that, or I don't want to do that, but I never have the power because I am Jesus. I didn't have Jesus. So anyway, I started studying the Bible and getting into knowing Jesus. And it was a miracle, Mark, because I was in the bodybuilding for 15 years. I was consumed by that. Consumed. I had two beautiful daughters in my first marriage, and I didn't spend much time with them because I was involved in exercising and all these things that I told you. But anyway, so I came back. I was still doing lifting weights. So one night I came to the gym. I remember so clear. I was in my knee. I was putting weights in a bar. I was getting to start my exercise routine, and these boys came to me and they said, "Look around." And I looked around and I saw, so clear, Mark, to me was the lifestyle that was meaning to me. All these people who were showing themselves. You get possessed by that. You get possessed by, I want to look this way. I want to attract these people. I want to be tough. And I saw clear. And the boy said, "It's not craziness to you?" And I said, "Yes, this is crazy." So it's like my first time in my life I saw this. It was amazing. So I took off. I went out. I never come back to the gym. The same thing happened with clothing. I was wearing all these tight jeans and tight shirts and all this look of bodybuilding lifestyle. Because I didn't have any personality. I was copying somebody else. I was copying my idols, those big guys in the bodybuilding world. I walk the way they walk. I talk the way they talk. Literally, I was an empty person. A big guy, 200 pounds, full of muscle, but nothing inside. Literally. So anyway, I went home and I threw away every single piece of garment that I have, except what I was wearing that was kind of decent. God convicted me about music, because in the gym with my friends used to pump, let's put this music, that pumping music, we call it pumping music, is music that pull you, get you that feeling, the feel very wild, in other words. And on the other hand was the music that make me feel so sad, and I was asking God, why is that, God? Why is I feel this way when I'm listening to this kind of music? And God told me, look, the lifestyle of singers, and I was shocked. I was looking the lifestyle of the singers. They were drug addicts. They were, they had problems. In other words, so I said, well, I quit this stuff. I'm not doing this anymore. So anyway, the TV, the same thing. I mean, God showed me those things personally. To me, that was precious, because if a man will tell me, I will not believe that. But it was God. I started learning that was God. Those voices I hear in my mind was God telling me things. So at that point, because this pastor was affiliated with Word of Faith, I was able to come to a youth seminar in 1997. My first time coming to a youth seminar.
That's at this Word of Faith?
Word of Faith here in Spindale. Period. Before that, I was able to listen a tape that Sam Whaley was teaching. I didn't speak in English. I didn't know nothing. But I remember when I listened that tape, I didn't understand one word. But I cried. I said, I want to meet that man right there. I want to meet that man. So anyway, I was able to come in 97. And I came here. I said, these people is real. These people is the people who I read in the Bible. In the book of Acts, these people are the true disciples of God. So I said, I need to come here. But I of course, I was divorced. I have 2 daughters in Ecuador. So I went back, and I came back in 98 with my daughters. They were little. They love her. They love to be here. So anyway, I went back to Ecuador. And in 2000, I was granted with a 5-year visa. So I said, I'm going. I knew God will restore my daughters to me. And I came here. And I came here to become a minister. I want to learn about Jesus. So anyways, at this point, Kent and Brooke Covington, who have been attacked for a lot of people, they receive me as a son.
These are you're talking about Brett, Kent and Brooke Covington in the Word of Faith
Word of Faith
ministers there.
Exactly. They receive me as their son. They didn't care about my background as a criminal. They love me. They never charged me a penny being in their house. And I'm so grateful to them. And I'm so grateful to Sam and Jane Whaley, because they have been paying the price for us to learn Jesus. And my life is transformed. I moved here in 2000, and I was not perfect. I still have a lot of problems, a lot of things in my heart that was not right. But Mark, I always think about Lazarus in the Bible, when Jesus commanded him to come out of the tomb. That was me. I was dead, and I came out of the tomb. But the scriptures goes on and said, Jesus told his disciples, unwrap that man and let them go free. That was me. These ministers here, including you, Carol Reynolds, all these ministers, Gerald and Linda Sutherland, Sam and Jane Whaley, Brooke and Kent, they unwrapped me out of those filthy rags that I was involved. And I'm coming free every single day. And I'm so grateful to them. Today, I got married here in 2005. I have a beautiful wife. She loves me. And she loves Jesus first. And if I'm wrong, she will let me know that I'm wrong. And I love her to death because of that. I will not trade her for anything.
And you just heard such a wonderful testimony, and that's so stood out to me, that when God spoke to him about Lazarus, unwrap him. What a powerful word, and that's what happened in his life. He said how he was dead in the world, and all of a sudden God raised him from the dead because Jesus came into his heart, and God unwrapped Stephen. And that was so precious when you shared that. And of course, one of his daughters actually moved here as well and is here with him. So thank you again for tuning in with us. And you can go to our website at wordoffaithfellowship.org and hear more radio programs that we have done. We hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.